Hi, my name is Muhammad Danish Affan, Anua, and today I will present my paper, A Systematic Literature Review, a systematic review of purpose and latency effect in the virtual reality environment. Abstract. VR means immersing oneself in a virtual environment where all we see is three-dimensional computer-generated. VR has been around for several decades now, but in recent years, the consistency of experience has dramatically improved. This technology has been recognized worldwide, making the adaptation of VR a more progressive, widespread occurrence across various fields. VR technology evolves very fast and significant as it merges with artificial intelligence (AI), thus transforming the way people use machines and smartphones in daily life to communicate with the world around them. However, there is a problem commonly faced by the virtual reality user, which is cyber sickness or motion sickness in the virtual reality environment. As a result, a systematic review has been made to gain a better understanding and present this information in form of a written summary of current research. The study of previous research publication of review papers was limited around 2017 to 2021 from the Scopus Library. Among 187 results, 5 of them were selected since they met the criteria through the inclusion and exclusion criteria procedure. 8 purposes were found and listed together with the outcomes. This paper also briefly discussed the latency effect and its relationship with motion sickness and the virtual reality environment system. Understanding the purpose and latency effect in the virtual reality environment can encourage researchers and developers to find a better solution to encounter the motion sickness problem. Keywords used: virtual reality, motion sickness, system latency. Introduction. Within the last few years, researchers has been focusing on the area known as virtual reality. This technology, which comes out with an interactive computer-generated environment, has moved from being focused on gaming to professional development. Experiencing virtual reality technologies requires a system with specifically designed computer software that can implement the technology and head-mounted display (HMD) that allow users to see the virtual environment. The latency effect plays a bigger part in the virtual reality. By understanding the latency effect in the virtual reality, the most common disease experienced by the virtual reality user can be reduced. Thus, virtual reality will have the opportunity to grow and expand beyond the initial creation. One major theoretical issue that has dominated the field for many years concerns the motion sickness effect in virtual reality. It is also known as a cyber sickness in terms of the symptoms, as they are similar. The only difference between the terms is that the motion sickness is caused by the real world, and while cyber sickness is caused by the virtual one. Number 2, past review. The goal of this chapter is to study, evaluate, and classify the existing works of the past review on the same field. By performing the systematic literature review method (SLR) commonly used by today's reviewers, 5 publications related to the study were found. This research used a particular string to search for a published review paper in the popular database journal named Scopus, which was set as the title. The string included the systematic review and virtual reality results, 187 documents. To filter the article for further investigation, this research utilized several inclusion and exclusion criteria. Table 1 and Table 2 below shows the criteria in the inclusion and exclusion process. Table 1 shows the inclusion process. Number 1, publication from 2017 to 2021. The keyword used are virtual reality, systematic review, and meta-analysis. Number 3, articles are all written in English. Table 2, inclusion criteria. Number 1, article are not related to the motion sickness approaches, and number 2, article with a similar regions of review. From the inclusion and exclusion filtration procedure, 5 applications were selected to be reviewed as they met the criteria above besides being related to the field of study. Table 3 illustrates the summary of 5 selected papers classified into 4 subjects: the title, the author, the purpose, and the outcome. Number 1, the paper titled A Systematic Literature Review on a Virtual Reality for Learning. The purpose is to understanding how virtual reality can be used to enhance learning. The outcome, number 1, there are 4 purposes for using VR in learning, which are to improve participants' achievements, enhance the learning, engaging and motivate the participants. Number 2, 2 types of devices are used for VR learning, namely projection divided into a personal and large screen, and an interaction type divided into tracking, haptics, and audio. Number 3, 2 types of user experience in VR learning, which are single and multi-users. The single user is the most used for user experience. Paper number 2, a systematic review of immersive virtual reality application for higher education, design elements, lessons learned, and research agenda. The purpose of the paper is to identify the design elements of existing research focusing on the application of VR in higher education. The outcome, number 1, learning theory is often not considered in VR application development to accomplish the learning outcome. Number 2, VR is still experimental in most domains with the usage that is considered unsystematic. Number 3, acknowledgement about VR application that has been used on a regular basis in some domains, especially for practical knowledge. Paper number 3, the new era of virtual reality locomotion, a systematic literature review of techniques and a proposed typology. The purpose of this paper is an analysis of the literature on the modern age of virtual reality locomotion strategies, which has been studied since 2014. Number 2, this paper proposed a typology for VR locomotion technique. The outcome, number 1, the study of virtual reality locomotion focusing on the physical movement needs to navigate open virtual world in continuous motion. Number 2, an empirical study is needed with approaches under comparative arrangement. Paper number 4, a systematic review of virtual reality system from the perspective of user experience. The purpose of this paper, number 1, to provide a structured methodology to categorize current virtual reality studies. Number 2, to categorize and summarize research on the user experience in virtual reality. Number 3, to state the current limitations for future advancement and development. The outcome, number 1, the study of the user experiences in virtual reality requires more research, especially into virtual reality device-related issues and technologies, as well as the research methodology. Number 2, there are bad effects that may not be confirmed in VR content and yet to be introduced. Number 3, study on utilizing the sensor data on virtual reality system might lack performance. Paper number 5, titled The Use of Virtual Reality Simulation Among Nursing Students and Registered Nurses, a systematic review. The purpose, number 1, to investigate and evaluate the latest evidence on the use of virtual reality as a teaching tool. There are 3 outcomes. Number 1, virtual reality is more studied by nursing students and in developed countries. Number 2, virtual reality is budget saving and saves time compared to the mannequin simulation and lectures. Number 3, virtual reality is lack of realistic presence and often has technological issues. The search was carried out using Scopus For systematic literature, Figure 1 displays publication trends include since 2007 in this review. As you can see, a significant increase in the number of articles and can be seen every year until 2020. Following that, a downtrend to less than 10 publications was observed by the year 2021. From the same source, the document related to the virtuality domain came from the various types. According to the comparison in Figure 2, document published were dominated by reviews, which accounted for 60.4% in the Scopus database, followed by articles which accounted for 29.4% and conference paper representing 4.8%. Scopus shows the document publications according to the subject area. It was reported that the highest subject area involves medicine with 37.6%. The health profession took the second place with 10.9%, while computer science came the third with 9% in the database. Figure 3 illustrates the comparison among documents published by subject area. Number 3. System latency in VR. Latency is the time taken for a system to react to the actions of the user. The primary factor of the latent sense of presence is latency in HMD system. Virtual reality technologies can be potentially grow further in interacting with computers. Jason 2009 defined the virtual environment as immersive virtual environment (IVE), with the additional requirement that only computer-generated visual cues are visible, and divide the IVE system into their primary components, which are tracking, application, rendering, and display. Figure 4 below shows the loop process between the user and the IVE system. The tracking will calculate the user's perspective. Non-rendering aspects of the virtual world are included in the application, such as updating dynamic geometry, user interaction other than perspective manipulation, and physics simulation. The geometry description will transform into a pixel in rendering. The process of the display shows the computed pixel physically to the user from the video signal. As you can see, this Figure 4, an immersive virtual environment system consisting of the input from the user that will go through the 4 primary components and produce output to the user. Number 4. Motion sickness in virtual reality environment. Motion sickness is produced by motion. Other motion like visual or vehicle motion comes from motion sickness in the virtual reality environment. These motion are the contributors to cyber sickness. According to Nesbitt 2018, he said cyber sickness is an uncomfortable side effect experienced by users of immersive interfaces commonly used for virtual reality. It is associated with symptoms such as nausea, postural instability, disorientation, headaches, eye strain, and tiredness. Some people experience motion sickness in VR, which means that when they put on a headset and enter a virtual world, they feel dizzy or nauseous. Similar symptoms of motion sickness also came from the lower frame per second of virtual reality displays, FPS, according to the Chen Zhang 2020. If the frame per second is limited to below 50 Hz, the user may experience uncomfortable side effects on the virtual reality motion sickness. In addition, the most essential and yet one of the factors that cause the motion sickness effect is the content. Chang stated that the degree of VR constancy and virtual reality sickness is determined by the material used in the virtual reality. Number 5. Virtual reality system. In the virtual environment, the users can use their eyes, ears, and their hands just like they normally do in the real world to perform virtual interaction. A system needs to allow the users to experience the virtual reality. The VR system consists of three classified categories, namely non-immersive, immersive, and semi-immersive. The non-immersive provide a less immersive experience compared to the other two. The user can interact with the environment by only using a mouse and a joystick. A video game is the best example of a non-immersive environment. The semi-immersive uses the hybrid system and plays a substitute role but not for replacing reality. This type of environment is frequently used for training purposes, for example, flight simulation. The immersive category provides the highest experience of immersive virtual reality, for example, the head-mounted display, HMD device, or fully equipped virtual reality room. The table below shows the virtual reality system category with details and tools. Number 1. Category non-immersive. Non-immersive has least immersive, least sophisticated component, and it uses 3D environment, stereo display, monitor, or glass. Number 2. Immersive, that has most expensive, the highest level of immersion, and immersive has the feeling of being in a virtual environment. Immersive uses a head-mounted display HMD, a tracking device, and a data glove. Number 3. Semi-immersive. Semi-immersive is a hybrid system or augmented reality, and it has a high level of immersion. The tools the semi-immersive use are desktop virtual reality or some physical models. Conclusion. This systematic review identified 8 purposes for conducting the research related to the virtual reality. Among the 8, 6 of them contributed clear findings to the research, while the other 2 have provided the idea and insight that will help to maintain the relevance of virtual reality technology. This study has also explained the latency effect of the virtual reality environment and its relationship with motion sickness and virtual reality system. Each relationship focuses on the definition to provide a better understanding of virtual reality. Understanding the purpose and the latency effect in the virtual reality environment can motivate researchers and developers to achieve a better solution and technique to overcome or at least minimize the motion sickness effect in the virtual reality environment. The study provided that virtual reality could provide a massive contribution to many regions in society besides possibly bridge a new discovery. Moreover, the study also found some boundaries and limitations to fully utilize technologies to meet their purposes. I think that's all for me. Thank you for listening, everyone. Thank you.